Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this week's Nature's Wisdom Circle. I'm really excited to be here and to explore today's topic about seasonal changes and specifically the invitations of autumn. Seasonal living in both a literal way, like following winter, spring, summer, and fall, so a literal way, and also a very energetic and metaphorical way, is truly the foundation of my life and all that I share. So it just so happens that autumn is also one of my most favorite holidays, or holidays. It feels like a holiday. It's this thing I wait for all year long. It's a holiday, my most favorite season. And so I'm really, really even doubly excited to talk about my two favorite things, seasonal living and specifically the invitations and energies of autumn. So let's dive in. Let's get into it. If at any time along the way you feel called to share something or have a question, please use the chat. And if you are watching the replay, leave comments and I will continue the conversation with you. I would love to. So for those that would like a little refresher, or if you are new, welcome. I'm Devon, and I'm an integrative health expert, an Ayurvedic health advisor, and a holistic life coach. And my mission and passion in life is to support people in creating unshakable resilience and vibrant health and deep joy through learning to simplify their life and realign with nature's wisdom and rhythms. So here we go. The wheel of the year has turned once again, and we have arrived in autumn, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And if you are a Southern Hemisphere person, you are welcoming spring. So these polar opposites that really complement each other and have so many similarities. And that's a topic for a different time. I actually have an article and a podcast about that axis, the autumn and spring axis and the complementary yet seemingly opposing paradoxical energies. But for us in the Northern Hemisphere, it is autumn. And there is an entirely new energy, a shift in the light, a shift in the air. There's a different feel. And I'm curious what you're noticing about this transitional time, both within yourself and around you. So please do share with me if you're here live. And again, if you're catching the replay, wherever you have a place to pop in a comment, I would love to hear. I love comparing notes and just hearing all of our different experiences that we're having in this magical mystery that we call life on Earth. Amy says, impatience, they want winter. Okay, so maybe some resistance towards autumn, wanting winter to come. Impatience. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. At InnerSpark, we see each season as a guide. They bring with them invitations to explore what's happening within ourselves in alignment with what's happening in nature. So as I briefly touched on, there is a very literal, tangible component to seasonal changes. Like I can see the light change as the sun moves and the days wax or wane. I can see the plants change. I can see the animals change. I can experience the different seasonal foods. And those physical manifestations are representations of the energy, the more subtle happening of that particular season. And so we see each season, as I said, as a guide, a way to have an entry point into exploring different facets of ourselves and of the world around us. We call this seasonal or spirally living. And it's not just about noticing the weather outside or decorating or changing our wardrobe, which are all really beautiful ways of honoring the season and practicing being in that flow. But seasonal or spirally living is about attuning yourself to the the deeper, more subtle currents that are at play in your body and mind and spirit. So we're not stagnant beings. We are nature. Nature's not outside of us. We're not these separate things. We are always changing and cycling every single day. You're completely different. Your body's different. Your mind is different. Your emotions are different. Your perspectives are different. You're probably not the same person you were when you woke up this morning. You've learned something different. You've had a different experience. And so having all of that, that's like our daily kind of rhythm, and then overlaid with these seasonal changes and the different nuances that they bring, we get to experience just even deeper and cooler, more nuanced, subtle ways. And so we can use the energies of the season, the way that I use them and the way that I teach about them, to assist us in the growth journey, the healing journey, because each of the seasons offers a very specific and different invitation and flavor. So in this practice of spirally living, that's what we're doing. And we begin to view time and life as cyclical, just like nature herself. And aligning with these rhythms, meaning allowing this to take place and really dancing with it, not resisting it, is a really prime way to nourish unshakable resilience and vibrant health and deep joy, because we're not putting energy towards fighting and resisting. We're putting energy towards allowing and being and answering these calls and these invitations. So let's explore the invitations of early autumn. What is this season asking of us? What is nature trying to show us? We can think of early autumn, like its counterpart spring, as a transitional time, whereas summer and winter are more destinations. And so if that's new for you to think about, just kind of feel it for a moment. Autumn and spring as transitional, more active. There's things happening, whereas summer and winter are more destinations, more places that we're going, and it's like a destination. Autumn is this deceleration, an exhale, a slowing down into the emptiness of winter. So we're transitioning into emptiness, into nothingness. Spring is the acceleration, the inhale, this onward towards the full expansive energy of summer. And so we can think of summer as kind of like the full moon, the top of the inhale when we're just full. It's this like just top of the top, fullest of full, before then this deceleration into autumn, which carries us into winter. Autumn is a season of transition, a time to let go. And so as I'm sharing and speaking about this, we're going to talk about the tangible things, right? Like I'm sure people are like, yeah, so like what foods do I eat and how do I take care of myself? And what does Ayurveda say about autumn? And yes, and also take everything I'm saying to the best of your ability in a very metaphorical and energetic way. So play with holding literal, tangible, and also more metaphorical and energetic. So autumn is a season of transition and a time of letting go. So that could literally be like letting go of clutter in your house. We actually, in my house, do more of like an autumn clean. I tend to clean out like old clothes and donate them, or do a deeper clean. I feel more called to do that in like the autumn than necessarily in the spring. And I always thought that was weird because the term, we always hear like spring cleaning. And sure, it's important to deep clean all the time. I'm not saying, I only clean my house once a year. But there's something about that pull of letting go that really speaks to me during this time. And if we actually think about it, winter is a time to like cozy in, depending on where you live. Obviously, if it's really cold, you're spending more time indoors. It's a perfect time to deep clean and prepare to have that cozy nest. So in this transition time and time of letting go, it can look like that, like tangibly, what are you letting go of? Maybe cutting hair, maybe getting rid of things that are cluttering up space. And then also on a more subtle energetic level, what are we letting go of? I was on a wonderful call with a client this morning who's in the process of really shedding this long, deeply held belief that she's not allowed to ask for help and how much that's getting in the way of things for her. And this newfound gusto to really like see that clearly and to let it go. Yeah. So this like, and always they go back and forth. So if there's something like tangibly that you're trying to let go of, there's also something that's tied to it, probably in a subtle, energetic way as well, and vice versa. During autumn, the trees are literally shedding their leaves. We see this. They're returning them to the earth in an act of surrender, and those leaves are going to feed new growth. Everything is connected and everything is in service. So when we let go of something, whether it's tangibly, like the bag of clothes I donated a few days ago, that cleared space for me, felt really good. And it's also going to go help somebody else. Just as if I let go of something, a behavior or a belief, something that's a little bit more internal and subtle and not tangible, like clothes, that is certainly benefiting me and many people around me. And then that might shift how they interact with the world, and then that's gonna, so this ripple. So everything is always connected, just as the leaves, like I said, are feeding the new growth. So what in your life needs to be released? What no longer has a place in the way that it looks currently? Keeping in mind that everything is just energy, and we can, if I'm putting forth energy into upholding an old identity or a belief or a behavior, well, I can take that energy back, destroy the way that it looks in this form as upholding that particular belief, take it back and like transform it into something else. So now I'm taking that energy and I'm using it for a new behavior, another way of being. Just as the leaves I'm looking at that are falling from the trees soon, everything's still green right now, but soon, are going to feed the ground and the soil to make something completely new. So what is here that is not needed in the way that it looks currently, that is still taking up space in your body and your heart and your mind, that can do something else? So Gary says, cooler temperatures. Yeah, same here. Looking forward to that. And loves the imagery and those concepts. It really provides a mental framework in which to deep dive and embrace. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that feels helpful. It's an ongoing, really beautiful practice. Really beautiful way of connecting in with nature and both, and ourselves, because we're one and the same in both tangible and subtle energetic ways. So InnerSpark has our own wheel of the year, and each season is related to a specific archetype that I've developed. And so to support us in this process of slowing down and turning inward and creating space and letting go that early autumn is about, we turn to the High Priestess archetype. And this is a wise, deeply intuitive figure who invites us to sit with our inner knowing and to trust in the process, to trust in our own capabilities, to remember that we actually have all that we need within us, and we can trust ourselves to know how and when to source it. And to really, from there, embrace the mysteries of life cycles and our place in it. So all of these archetypes on our wheel of the year live within us. We have all of these parts within us, and they're with us always. They're our inner wisdom council, regardless of what the calendar is. I'm going to engage with probably all 8 of them in any given day. And when we're actually in their literal season, we have more direct access to them. So the high priestess teaches us to honor both the seen and the unseen, the light and the dark, and to trust the wisdom that comes from slowing down and reflecting and listening to that inner voice. We're not meant to carry all the things with us all the time to bring them forward with us. We need to prune. We need to prune. It's necessary for growth. And it takes so much more energy to continually carry the old with us into the present. Think about that for a moment. It's so vital to strip away what's necessary. And if I'm constantly taking old things with me, I'm just recreating old things because I'm bringing that perspective and that belief, that identity, and like expecting maybe a different experience in life. It's not going to happen. And so we're just like using this energy to bring that forward and to recreate and like double check, like, okay, well, if I'm this character and I need to do this and I believe that, I have to show up. It's just like a lot of extra stuff. So finding the stability and the courage to let that go and to really be with what is, to really consciously release with so much gratitude any of the old. Emotionally, autumn can stir up feelings of nostalgia and grief, or even sadness. It's really akin to this kind of, if we look at like the life cycle, it's those kind of later years, those Vata years of life. There's nothing negative about nostalgia or grief. I think that our culture really shuns those kinds of more challenging feelings, those kinds of in-between feelings, right? It's neither super happy and it's neither super sad. It's like, what is this nostalgic melancholy? I don't know how to be with this. And so it's not uncommon for autumn to really stir that up and for people to think maybe like, oh, I have seasonal affective disorder, or I don't like this time of year. I need more sunshine. Perhaps some or all of that is a little true. And I also invite you to maybe see if there's a way to be with that discomfort a little bit, to just lean in with a little love and a little tenderness and see what's there for you. These emotions are natural and have something to share with you, and that the high priestess is reminding us to really be gentle and to listen and trust that process. And of course, in order to consciously and fully take place in this whole dance, we must stay anchored to ourselves, which can be really hard to do amidst the change and upheaval of modern life, and also the change and upheaval of how autumn can sometimes feel, with that deceleration, with that kind of we were flying high and it was summer and we were this and that, oh my gosh, and the bright lights and the extroverting and the sunshine, to like then go to this, oh right, like things end, there are endings and there are completions and there is mortality and there is darkness, like it's not all summer and bright lights. That can feel a little disorienting, and it can feel challenging to be with, like I was saying. And so in order to really be with it and to feel that anchored presence in our body and to take advantage of it, we need to come back home to ourselves and to ground ourselves. And um, that's really where that daily rhythms practice comes into play. That's why that work is so important, to then move into things like this, living in a more spirally, seasonal, subtle, deeper way. So that's why I love the Everyday Rhythms program. So just briefly, I wanted to share some Ayurvedic perspectives on this time of year and some more tangible ways that you can stay grounded and receive the invitations of autumn. So autumn aligns with Vata, as I was saying, and this is that elements of air and space. So the energies that create movement and flow and transition in our life and in our body. And there can also be a sense of dryness and scattered thoughts and anxiety if we're not grounded, difficulty sleeping, constipation, dry skin, some of those things that people accept as like normal autumn symptoms that are really just a nudge that the vata is a little high in the system and we can do something about it and not just have a miserable time. Vata in particular thrives on those balanced daily practices that create stability and nourishment. So eating regularly, sleeping regularly, moving daily, all the things that again are taught in the InnerSpark method, everyday rhythms. Creating space for reflection during this time is particularly helpful, especially when themes of grief and melancholy and nostalgia arise, welcoming them and giving them space. You know, it's that famous quote, that which we resist persists. And so it just is a little visitor, a little emotional visitor just tapping you on the shoulder saying, hello, I also live in you and I'm here right now. So taking some time to check in and notice what themes are present, journaling, meditating, and intentionally accessing that inner wisdom that the high priestess is here to share with us. Really turning to grounding, nourishing foods. So warm, seasonal roots and soups and spices like ginger and cinnamon, warm and cozy and delightful. Another thing is to honor that process of letting go. So that would probably be my biggest offering at this time, if you take nothing else from today, is just as I'm watching nature release, what am I releasing? What can I be letting go of? Whether it's cleaning out the closet full of clothes or cleaning out your more metaphorical, energetic closet. So old habits or relationships or thought patterns, what can be let go of in its current iteration so that energy and that everything that is being used to uphold this can be used for something else, so it can transform and be turned into something useful and nourishing in your life, just like those leaves. I love watching leaves fall in autumn. It's so inspiring to me. The trees just like they don't fight it, they just let it go. And then the leaves fall to the ground and like the cycle of life repeats itself. What was once physically that leaf, that fresh baby in spring with its little green leaf, and it grew all year and then it dries and withers, like that's not the end, that's just the end of that leaf. But that same energy, that same essence, that same spark is feeding the whole cycle in a new way. So thinking and feeling into it in that way, what am I holding on to that is like, it's done, right? Like that leaf is done. Let that leaf go and let it transform into something else. Let it feed the next thing. Okay, I think we've talked about the leaves enough. Lastly, connecting with nature's rhythms. So this is a time for slowing down. The days are getting shorter. They're cooler. Honor the introspection. Don't try to carry, if you happen to be more of a extroverted, you love summer, you love the socializing, you love the long days, that kind of person, don't try to do that here because it's not going to work. And you're going to deplete yourself. And by the time we get to that time of year again, literally and metaphorically and all the things, you're not going to be as vibrant as you could be. And so honoring that pull inward, honoring that this is more of the inward time. This is the yin time of year, the inside. We're going in, and be with yourself. And if that feels a little challenging, I would invite you to maybe explore a session with me. So I could keep going and going. I love this stuff so much. I think in closing, autumn is not just a time of loss or darkness. It's a time of wisdom and insight and renewal, and something that you'll hear me say a lot, especially as we deepen into the more dark time with late autumn slash Samhain time that's coming, and then heading into winter. Truly, it's a time to rely on our inner sight and our inner wisdom, because the light is waning. So it's trusting and it's leaning into the darker it is, the better I can see, actually. So using this time of wisdom and insight and renewal and preparing whatever you need to do to really strengthen and connect with your own inner light, because that's what will guide you as things start to get dark. Darkness isn't scary. It's not bad. Our constant artificially lit and 24/7, 365 on world has trained us to believe that darkness is a bad, scary thing, and it's not. It is not. So we're not totally in the darkness yet. We're going to talk more about that when we get there. This is like that preparation and that that's where we're going. So do what you need to do now to align with the rhythms, slow it down, and begin to go inward. And this is really the magic of spirally living. It's learning to move with what is, learn to move with these literal and energetic seasons, not against them. So what will you let go of this autumn? What space are you creating for what is to come? And of course, if you would like to explore ways of living more in alignment with nature's spirally ways and how to cultivate an unshakable foundation of true, sustainable, lifelong resilience and health and joy, I do invite you to explore my signature program, the InnerSpark Method, Everyday Rhythms. You can learn more at the innersparkmethod.com/everyday rhythms. And that's where I will leave it for today. If there are any questions or additional insights or comments, I would love to hear it. Gary says, this is so powerful. It really provides the motivation to embrace the process and trust the pathway. Release what isn't serving is really resonating. Yeah. I'm just a messenger. This is just what's being offered. And so, yeah, it's like, it just makes sense. It really just does. It makes sense. This is when I really found some of these ways and interpreted them and created some of my own teachings and just all of that. It just is like, it makes life make so much sense. And it really shows us how out of sync we are and how unnaturally we are going about life in many ways. And so all of us, that in our own way, as we reconnect and kind of hold a torch for others, that kind of sense of giving permission and reconnecting and realigning, I think that we're all really amazing and courageous and awesome. Amy says transitional times make me anxious. Yeah, that's definitely the vata. So if that's something that you explore or experience regularly, I would encourage you to really lean into creating a sense of regularity and stability and rhythms in your life to really soothe vata, that air and space element, that kind of up and out. When it gets high, there's a lot of anxiety. And if you would like to have a session, we can explore that together, how that may be showing up in your life and how perhaps there's ways that unknowingly certain lifestyle choices can contribute to that, especially ones that we're taught and are normalized. It's not our fault when we're doing what we've been told and to do. It's so we don't know what we don't know until we know it, and then we get to experience firsthand how wonderful we can actually feel. It's like, oh wow, life can be really good. I can feel good in my body and in my mind, and I'm like, I know how to do that. It's amazing. So okay, thank you. Happy autumn to everyone. And again, if anything else comes up, any questions, any insights, this is like my most favorite conversation ever. So please do share on the replay comments. Okay. See you next time. Thank you for being here.